Next, we'll hear from a woman I have known for many years. She is a mother of a classmate. She conceptualized the day of reading and helped to bring back family work parties. She will most certainly be remembered for her volunteerism. Please welcome Tanya Smith Montano.
Thank you, Gianni, and thank you, Oak Grove. It is such an honor to be asked to speak here today, so thank you very much. You know, as a family, we've asked ourselves so many times, how does one articulate being a part of Oak Grove for the past 10 years? You see, so much of those years, we're always looking ahead. We're always wondering, are these choices the right choices? And so, with having one child, it left little room for mistakes, and we were always wondering, you know, do we have just this one chance to do it right? So my husband and I began to look for a place that would explore learning deeply, that would promote the idea of ideas and also applause question. Really a place that would be considered a school of humanity. And that brought us to our first day at Oak Grove. What immediately stood out was the view of children and education. It was clear that it was a place where children were allowed to grow slow. Kind of like a slow cooker. They had all the right ingredients and understood that the complex flavor would come over time. And I admit it was very difficult for me because I'm more of a microwave kind of mom. I also noticed that everyone had the ability to truly listen. And it was a bit unnerving at the beginning because nobody was cutting me off halfway through my sentence and they, with their own ideas or even like jumping in at the tail end of mine. What I did, though, learn over time is that they were giving me the space to speak, and at the same time, they were giving themselves the space to listen and to learn. In the elementary years, every day was a good day. Sophia was so excited to go to school, and it was quite shocking. It wasn't the case in all other schools. What I noticed was that the teachers placed a strong emphasis on communication and dialogue. It seemed to be as important as the ABCs. And they somehow were weaving in math and science and English in such an engaging way that every day was a day of discovery. But then there was the junior high years, the preteen. There is nothing like it. But what was truly amazing was the feeling of our village, the Oak Grove village. They were there to stand by our sides and really to help us work through so many of the questions that come at this age. I remember in 6th grade when Sophia decided that it was time for her to go to a school where there were cement buildings and linoleum flooring. I asked her teacher Ron, that while they were out on the camping trip, if he could speak to her because I was convinced that it was absolutely the wrong decision. When he returned, he said, "She's fine. She figured it out. I didn't have to say anything. I just asked her the questions and she answered them herself." A bit of Oak Grove was starting to show in Sophia. Entering the high school years, I must confess, I started to panic a bit. Was it academically rigorous enough? I remember feeling a little concerned because Sophia had been reading an English book that seemed like for a month. And my friend who had told me her son, who was in the same grade, was on his 3rd. It's like, uh-oh, falling behind. I immediately reached out to Paul to express my concern. His response, in the most gentle way, our approach really isn't about the quantity of reading, but it's the understanding and the depth of reading and being able to think, to ask questions, and provide a space for discussion. Which brings me back to where it all began. It wasn't the fact that she finally memorized her alphabet and over the years went on to study physics, chemistry, world history, culture, and ethics. But it's how she got there. Those moments when someone stepped in to help guide her in her path and decisions. The moment when the preschool teacher saw that there was a conflict between Sophia and another high school student and led them to her peace table in the preschool classroom to work out their differences. The moment when Sophia was on the most strenuous camping trips and became paralyzed and began to sob at the sound of a rattlesnake that she couldn't see. And there was Kevin, the parent, who was by her side, helping guide her down that path. The moments when her teachers were there to listen as a friend and as a confidant, and even though I know it went far beyond their job descriptions. And the moment when Sophia opened up to all her classmates during a council to say that she just didn't know where she fit in, and was immediately surrounded by comforting hands to let her know that it was right where she was standing. And then comes that very special moment when you witness what it's like to have your child grow up at Oak Grove. This year, she sat at her kitchen table and she began a discussion with her father. The discussion ran deep and was on its way to becoming a debate because the two did not see eye to eye. I sat in silence, and as I looked at my daughter, who was no longer a child, but quite a young, capable woman, a woman that could carry on a discussion with confidence, hold her own opinions, but still listen, question, and all at the same time provide a unique perspective that was all her own. And to do all that with her father while not losing her composure or cool is really quite a feat in my eyes. These moments, along with 100 others, will never be forgotten. And now, as we look back instead of forward, would we do it all over again? Absolutely. Do we have any regrets that not all children are given the gift of growing up, growing slow, and growing at Oak Grove? Thank you.